Hey guys, I just wanted to. I'm just gonna be doing, or I guess like a just overall recap of all of the DC shows I haven't done. Individual recap videos for, reaction videos for this week, just because at the time I'm recording this video, it's it's late at night. I gotta go to sleep. I got to work all day. Easter, so I'm just gonna do just like quickly go over just go over some talking points from Krypton, Black Lightning, and Arrow. I will put timestamps in either the description box of the video or in a pinned comment down below, just so people can do time skips to specific shows they want to, or just basically just jump around. Hopefully, I would recommend watching all three. I have thoughts on all three. And let's just get right into it. So with Black Lightning, Sins of the Father, the Book of Redemption. Now we're gonna have we have a situation where because Gambit didn't really cover his tracks when he found all of those like cryopods with all the kids who were kidnapped from 30 years ago. And yes, it's still the same kids from 30 years ago kidnapped in suspended animation. Anissa finds it later too and is horrified, but it turns out that realizes that Proctor and the other ASA agents are onto Gambi and realize that he's not working with them anymore, and so they go to his shop and they threaten to have an agent on the street shoot innocent bystanders if he doesn't come with them and tell them about who Black Lightning is. And the and so they just end up like beating. So they end up like taking him to this warehouse where they beat the crap out of him, waterboard him, and it's up to Jefferson to come to his rescue. Not in his Black Lightning outfit, but he uses his powers to kind of knock the power out and allow him to allow the boat to escape. And Jefferson finally forgiving Gambi for his involvement with the ASA and all this, shady, getting his dad killed, and I guess they finally go to, I guess, like his Jefferson's old house where his father was murdered, just as Gambi's warning is that they need to go into hiding from ASA, and the Lynn tries to do MRI scans as Jennifer because you have Two Big come back and she generate this almost like it's kind of like almost like energy field where she sees like a kid on the street take green. He sees a kid on the street take green light and generates like an energy field, and before they're taken by ASA, and the same thing happens with Jennifer when she gets emotional, and it turns out that her powers work differently than Jefferson's, because Jefferson's either able to absorb electricity and channel, manipulate it and like I guess channel it back out, and but Jennifer produces electricity on her own, kind of acting like a generator. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of like fighting kind of combo tactics that she'll use to help Anissa and Jefferson, assuming that she doesn't want to like just not get involved. Assuming she wants to change her mind and wants to get involved, but she's more reluctant and wants the normal life, and she and this is pointing out anytime something gets tough, and with Jennifer kind of, and this is kind of going out of her way to like call her sister like a quitter when it comes to quitting track, quitting on with the whole drama with Khalil, and that's what causes her to get pissed off and kind of like activate her powers in full effect to the point where it tries a chair. So I mean, so maybe like that's kind of her arc, is just sort of just like not sort of like wanting to give up, be more resilient. And the thing is like this is like dragging the show down is, and maybe I missed something in the last episode, in one of my last episodes, is this whole thing with Lala and him just like talking to ghosts of like hallucinating ghosts of like people he's killed. Like first it was Wanda, and now it's like and now it just seems to be his cousin Will, who he shot at the end of the second episode, and now he turns into like a now he's talking. So now he manifests and turns into like a face tattoo on his chest too. So it's like I don't know if he's hallucinating. Like, why are they going with this? Like, why all of a sudden it's almost like Tobias is out of the picture. Like, was it he wasn't able to cover his tracks enough that he kind of just like left town temporarily? Because it's almost like there wasn't like an explanation for why it's like we haven't been seeing him, to me anyway, and why it's just like Lala is like almost like filling in the power vacuum. Like, was it not like did he not cover his tracks enough that that Tobias has to like go into hiding and not like invoke the council's wrath since he tried to kill Lady Eve? So it's like, or did he not want to be like person of interest, even though he risked being a person of interest in spite of successfully framing Black Lightning for Lady Eve's murder? It's like I don't. It's like I don't know. It's just weird that we had this whole thing with Lala and him talking to ghosts of his victims, and then he has this whole thing where apparently Green Lantern's become so addictive that none of the other junkies want anything else, and it's like and it's like now, and now his like middlemen or dealers are trying to like they say they're not happy with just like selling cocaine and just like regular illegal drugs because it's like their clients don't want it, but since Lala's in charge, it's like he basically says it's his way or the highway. So it's just like I just need some kind of explanation for why he's even still like he's not dead anymore, and why he's like seeing literal ghosts from his past. And good episode, just gaping plot hole that I just think I'm just finding kind of stupid at this point. So with Krypton episode 2, House of L, I gotta say the more I thought about the pilot, the more I thought it was just painfully boring, and I had half a mind to even just write off this episode and not even bother like continuing with this series. And then I just totally gave it another chance by watching this episode, and now I think it has potential. Why do you ask? How did I change my mind? Well, it felt like the plot was moving forward, and there was, wasn't like so much of just let's set up an exposition. So now you have Seg, who's talking to Adam's warning and disregards his stuff about Brainiac coming centuries early to attack and destroy Krypton. In spite of the evidence presented to him, he just plans to go kill Darren Vex to avenge his parents, and he requests funeral rites, but he doesn't get that. And Darren says why he killed Val-El, and it was because of the fact that he developed a computer system that was able to discover a world collector light years away from Krypton, and it was deemed heretical. And Seg realizes that Adam was right about that there was some truth to Adam's warning about Brainiac and being permitted into the Science Guild. He gains like a data tablet to show off to Adam and Kem, but they're not finding anything, and Seg gets impatient and hot-headed because that's how he is. And he plans to go and assassinate Darren, but Nyssa intercepts him and gives him a urn with his parents' ashes as a way of gaining closure, showing compassion and getting closure. But you find out later in the episode that it was later just to gain. It was part of her plan to gain Seg's trust, and apparently she seems to be pulling her own dad's strings and whispering in his ear to playing treat him like a chess piece and whatnot, in order to, if he really wants to show him like this is how you really have to control the guy, instead of just like instead of just going about it your way. He goes back to his parents' old home, and neighbors give him kind of this like old stone with the House of L insignia on it. And so when he goes back to the fortress, he finds like a DNA lock and cuts his blood to activate the Fortress of Solitude, and he sees a hologram of his own grandfather Val-El. So I like the parallels they're doing with between Seg and Superman. And Val-El talks about how all these like scientific discoveries and stuff that the House of L has always done for years, and how he discovered the Phantom Zone. And there was this nice little funny moment where Seg's not too happy with the name of it, and like Val just responds like, "Did you have a better name?" He's like, "Nope, sorry for interrupting. Continue." And brought a little bit of levity to it in something that was just kind of bleak, and how Val used to discover Brainiac traveling the universe and being a collector of worlds through Phantom Zone as like a means of like teleportation. Because it was outside of time and space, it's like, oh, I can jump to the Phantom Zone and then jump to said planet, and he decides to listen to Adam finally and stop the threat. And he wants to have he doesn't want to wear like the House of Vex's crest. And he says that he wants to be in the Science Guild, but he doesn't want to wear Vex's crest. But the voice of Rao says that I guess World like allows it, but again, these are the voice of Rao saying you got to do that. You got to compromise with him in order to kind of just like gain his trust, to manipulate him instead of just kind of being like, just kind of like authoritarian, just dogmatic. And then of course Kem and Adam find some kind of this almost like this egg-like thing outside of Kandor, which kind of suggests that that acts as a scout for Brainiac and suggests that he's already on the planet. So that's like a part of him that's like branched off and is like already on Krypton. And then when Lyta's worried about Seg's safety with the because the military guild is basically going to start indiscriminately, I guess, like arresting and or killing I guess both rankless and Black Zero terrorists, because they figured the former is going to allow the latter to kind of just like blend. It feels like the latter is going to try to like blend. The latter is going to try to blend in with the former, so they're just going to be more indiscriminate about it. And so that's why she challenges. Lyta challenges her commander to a fight to the death, and you see I think Jaina or something. Jaina Zod, her mom. I'm sorry if I'm butchering this, but saying that it's a bad idea, and she's just saying like, oh, she's never she never really had like any kind of faith in her, and never really believed in her, and never really she had that kind of like ruthlessness or determination. And it almost kind of reminds me of the Lionel Luthor Lex Luthor dynamic on Smallville, in which it felt like by trying to prove himself to his father that or trying to like keep going at it with or at least like going at it with his father, that Lex became his father's son. And Lyta, after getting nearly beaten to death, is still able to muster up all her wrath and strength to actually snap her commander's neck when after he begs for mercy, and he just says like there is no mercy, or repeats like her mom's line for the pilot or something like that. But it just felt like now I planted the seeds for how she could be as ruthless as her son. I'm assuming Drew Zod is going to turn out to be. And so yeah, it just feels like, okay, now I feel like I know I get a sense of where they're going with certain characters, how things are going to play out. I don't really care about the whole the Darren Vex stuff, to be honest. I was more interested in the fight against Brainiac, and Jeff Johns, I guess, teased that we were going to see like Thanagar and the Green Lantern Corps, so maybe they're actually going to be traveling to different planets through the Phantom Zone to take the fight to Brainiac. And but I guess my only gripe about the show is that I don't know. You feel like I kind of would have. I guess originally maybe just seeing like making this about the story of like a young Jor-El instead. Maybe would have. Because everybody knows about Jor-El, and people would have been more like get a greater sense of attachment. But maybe they felt like since they wanted to have parallels between Seg and Superman, that the parallels would have been too close, I guess. But in any case, I don't know. I think they can make it work with Superman's grandfather instead of just Jor-El. And like I said, the second episode, if you haven't watched the pilot, or if this is the first review you've seen on this channel or any channel of Krypton, I would say skip the pilot. Just go, because they're going to do like a recap and give you like the Cliff Notes version of what happened, and then just go straight into the second episode, and you should be it should be fun. Now with Arrow, season 6, episode 16, the Thanatos Guild. This was kind of a mixed bag, because also, by the way, the Thanatos Guild, that's the name of apparently this like splinter group of League of Assassins loyalists created by Malcolm Merlyn before his death. My guess is that it could have possibly have been probably in the gap between when the Legion of Doom disbanded in Legends, and between when he showed up for the season 5 finale of Arrow, because Sarah did mention at the end of the Legends season 2 finale that they dropped Malcolm off back in 2016 and returned the different Legion members to their proper points in the timeline, basically all the points in the time that Thawne recruited them. And you saw in Legends season, I think it was season 2, episode 10, that Malcolm was recruited on Genesis Day in Star City 2016, which is basically right after the events of, or at least, basically he was recruited like right after the events of the season 4 finale of Arrow, and they dropped him off back right around that same point of time. Then he could have galvanized some seeked out and galvanized some loyalists, since he lost his chance to at power and getting his family back through the Spear of Destiny. So he had to resort to that, presumably, and he apparently was able to find some kind of map that leads to some kind of treasure that he put in a box that only Thea could unlock using a combination. Or at least they had to use some ancient form of mathematics to unlock the box, and it was supposed to have a math that led to a treasure that Athena and the Thanatos Guild, who's Malcolm's second in command, were after. So it's cool. So at first, Thea was just adamant and ready to drive off into the sunset with Roy until they were attacked by the guild. And then when they found out about this kind of essentially this heirloom that Malcolm had left to Thea, that the guild was after, there's all of a sudden she's kind of just gung-ho about getting back into help, gung-ho about, or at least first she says listen, I'll just help you find this box, and then I'm done. And they do, but not before an informant of Nyssa is killed, and also they have to fight their way through all these booby traps in a warehouse where Malcolm hid the box. And it was nice to see Roy, but because Thea was wearing the tailored Arsenal / Speedy suit, that Roy had to wear a hoodie, and then was wearing a baseball cap, which was supposed to be a nod to his new 52 costume, and he still had a bow and quiver and arrows. I mean, there's a part of me that I wish he still had had him wear a mask too. But that's like a little nitpick. And but now it's like once they find, but now it's like okay, if they find the box, but now once they find the box, it seems to be, and now Anissa says that, and they op- and Felicity figures out how to open it. They just all of a sudden, like Nissa says, she'll go on her own and try to destroy it and make sure the Thanatos Guild never finds what Malcolm discovered. And now Thea saying is like, you're not going off on your own. And at first it seems like it. I guess it's like I guess I'm just trying to like. I guess I was like wondering if this is completely out of character for Thea or not. Like for her to like just all of a sudden, it seems like whenever like Malcolm's involved, all of a sudden it's just like she got out of wanting to be a vigilante because of the fact of I guess like the crap she went through with like the Lazarus Pit and Malcolm being not wanting to be her father's daughter, and the trauma with Malcolm and all that stuff. But now it seems like she seems a little bit like there's a parallel that they have between her and Oliver, where it just feels like they kind of can't give up being vigilantes. It seems like, with Oliver, not dodging Diggle's questions about whether or not about giving him back the Green Arrow mantle, and Roy's worried because it's like I thought you were wanted to give up on this, thought you just wanted to leave this behind. And then when during another fight with Athena, and when Athena says that blood needs to be shed, Thea picks up a few tricks from Malcolm in which he's able to like stab Athena and cause her to at least retreat. But it turns out that they literally needed to spill blood in order to put onto this what I thought was just a blank map. Now it's just this huge map which has like world ley lines all over the world, and it turns out that Malcolm Merlin had actually discovered like 3 more Lazarus pits across the planet, and this just says that she plans to seeing what happened with I guess with Sarah, and maybe not worry that the Thanatos Guild might possibly use this to bring back Malcolm. She says she's going to use this map to go and destroy the other Lazarus pits. And Thea says she wants to go with Nissa because it's like I guess they're trying to have this parallel with Oliver, with saying that he feels the need to kind of they feel the same need that Oliver does to right their biological father's wrongs, and Roy decides to be supportive and go with her. So. And I guess the funny thing is that they have like Nissa keep like just trolling Oliver and especially Felicity about their marriage to the League of Assassins, and by keep calling Oliver husband in front of Felicity, and she gets mad about it. And then there's had this funny moment where she doesn't want to be, Felicity just tries to tell Nissa to buzz off and says like, "Oh, I don't want to be distracted while I'm like working on this map," and it's like, "Fine." And she just stands there next to her saying, I'll make sure you're no longer you're not distracted, sister wife." And it just feels, and eventually like the marriage between Oliver and Nissa are officially annulled with some kind of like ceremonial gift or some kind of knife or something. That Oliver just takes as like their unofficial wedding present from Nissa, but the thing is, like, I thought she was just the thing that I thought it was funny at first, but then it kind of had me scratching my head as, like, at first, like, Nissa didn't want to be in this arranged marriage with Oliver in the first place, back in season 3, and then it seems like from, like, especially given the circumstances that Ra's al Ghul is, like, that she wanted to basically have her, like, conceive an heir just through like marital rape, essentially, because Nissa's a lesbian, and of course which made the whole thing even worse, which made it even worse, the whole idea even worse. And but it's like all of a sudden in season 4 she keeps like trying to invoke this with Oliver and like hold this over his head, and he starts like telling other people like Slade, and like she's calling all of her husband around other people like Slade and Felicity, and like they're asking questions about it, and it's just like you hated this before, and I get you don't have to worry about like this marital rape, conceiving an heir crap, and now you disbanded the leagues and you don't want to be in your father's shadow, but it's just like, why do you have? It was just like, why do you care about this so much? And I guess the thing about it is that Athena, as far as a villain's concerned, like she wasn't really like leave like a lasting impression, and I guess the thing is, I guess also because of the fact that even though we have like Lazarus Pits brought back into the picture, it just feels like it was just their way of like having like Roy and Thea like go off it to play, write them off the show, but at the same time like have them continue their heroics off screen rather than just be fugitives. But it just feels like, but it's like, yeah, it's like even put out a tweet about this, like, like they brought back Lazarus Pits, but they're not going to use it to bring back any like fan favorites. So they're still going to be relying on just like flashbacks or time travel or just alternate universe doppelgangers to bring back once dead characters. So it just kind of felt like this is something to kind of keep all these characters busy off screen, especially since Katrina Law's on this show on Crackle called The Oath. So I don't know. It's just kind of, so again, that's why it was kind of like a mixed bag. Because kind of like a mixed bag. I mean, it was a nice send off for Thea, especially when Oliver and Thea paraphrase each other's lines from the pilot, saying, "I missed you so much. You were with me the whole time." With Thea saying, "You're going to be with me the whole time." So but I hope it's not. I mean, obviously it was Thea's time to go. The writers clearly didn't know what to do with the character for a while now, but I hope she comes back for at least and Roy come back for and Nyssa, they come back as like for guest appearances at least, because I still like the actress, I still like the character, so I don't want it to be like the last we see of her or Roy or Nyssa, obviously. So how do you guys feel about Arrow? Do you think what Thea was? Do you think Thea's like flip flopping too much about the whole like vigilante stuff? What do you think about all 3 episodes this week or the shows this week? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.